The bright lights of New York City have narrowed their focus on the Big East Championship. There's no voting you off this island, and no judges can move you on. Only those who step up make it to the final here. The city is hard. The lights are hot. But when these teams were through, they wondered, is that all you got?
So incredible, unforgettable. If you battle us, find out it's just not winnable. So invincible, just for principle. We let you go, but you seem unconvincible. Step up, cause we're ready to step on anybody in our way, and our game is Teflon.
It took a little extra, but the Cardinals got it done. Next in their way, the Panthers, who have their sights set on the final.
Make a move, you ain't ready to fill my shoes. Gonna try, but you ain't paid no dues. Ride high, homie, please don't get it confused. We never lose, we never lose. Make a move, you ain't ready to fill my shoes. You wanna try, but you ain't paid no dues. Ride high, homie, please don't get it confused. We never lose, we never lose.
This is the place. This is the time. You either step up or say goodbye. And welcome one more time inside Madison Square Garden here in New York City for our continuing coverage of Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. This is the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale, and this is semifinal number 2. The number 2 seed Louisville against the number 3 seed Pittsburgh, with the winner heading on to tomorrow night's championship game against the top seed, the Georgetown Hoyas, who won a thriller against Notre Dame 84-82 that ended just a few minutes ago. The championship game tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, here on ESPN. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to New York. Dan Shulman again with Len Elmore. What a first game. Hopefully, this one will be just like it. Louisville and Pitt met once during the season in Pittsburgh, and the Cardinals hung a double-digit defeat on the Panthers. How did they do it?
Well, in a word, they swarmed them. It all came down to pressure defense for Louisville. What they were able to do is focus on preventing shooters from getting open looks and making them go on the move, and certainly creating turnovers. 19 turnovers did the Louisville pressure defense create. This was Louisville's first visit to Pitt as a member of the Big East, and they certainly were not the best of house guests because they were just taking it to the Panthers.
And really a game that got Louisville's season turned around, started a 7-game winning streak that they're still on. Pittsburgh's outside shooters really struggled. The most lopsided defeat for the Panthers in the 6-year history of the Peterson Event Center. David Padgett, who was great last night, had a very solid game in that game for the Cardinals. Time now for tonight's Star Watch, presented by American Century. Aaron Gray worked very hard for his 22-10 last night in the quarterfinal win over Marquette. And sophomore Terrence Williams rapidly becoming one of the best all-around players in the Big East. He's one of a number of talented basketball players from the great city of Seattle. And with more on that, here's Mark Jones.
Here at Beach High School in the city of Seattle. And Terrence Williams, guys, speaking with him a few moments ago, he got a phone call, okay? And here's what it looked like when it came up on his caller ID. It says, Brother Nate, down there on the ID screen. It's not his pastor, it's Nate Robinson, a childhood friend of his going back to the 5th grade, who now plays for the New York Knicks, formerly of the University of Washington. You see, the two of them have a bet for Williams. Williams told me that he has to take his team, Louisville, further than Robinson took his team, Washington, into the NCAA tournament. Robinson took Washington to the Sweet 16. The challenge begins now, Williams says, for him right now, embracing that leadership role, Dan and Lenny, and it involves much more than scoring. Back to you.
That's exactly right, Mark. Rebounding, defense, assists, great all-around play by Williams in recent weeks. Time now for the starting lineups. We begin with a very experienced group of Panthers. A 5th-year senior, Levon Kendall, a transfer to Mike Cook, off 2 good years at East Carolina. In the backcourt, Levance Fields and Antonio Graves, who knocked down a couple of big shots for Pittsburgh in last night's win over Marquette. For the Louisville Cardinals, Williams and Padgett joined up front by freshman Earl Clark. 17 big points in the double overtime win over West Virginia a night ago. In the backcourt, Brandon Jenkins and Edgar Sosa. It was the freshman Sosa whose layup tied the game last night, sent it to overtime. Louisville eventually winning in double OT. Tonight's semifinal of the Big East Championship, presented by Aeropostale, is available on ESPN HD. Well, don't you get a chance to catch your breath after that first game and get revved up for the second one?
Hey, man, it's just like strapping it up and let's do it again. Get back on the roller coaster. Hey, going back to Jonesy's feature on T. Will, I mean, let's truth be known. Nate Robinson didn't take Washington to the Sweet 16 by himself. He also had a young fellow by the name of Brandon Roy, who's now maybe the Rookie of the Year in the NBA. And T. Will has to understand that he can't do it by himself. He's got to play with his teammates.
Sosa into traffic. Rick Pitino reiterated after the game yesterday what he has said many times about Edgar Sosa. He is your prototypical New York City point guard. He is fearless, sometimes almost to a fault. Coach Pitino sometimes has to beg him to be a little bit more of a distributor and a little bit less of a scorer. And Aaron Gray is called for the foul. Jamie Dixon in his 4th season at the helm of the Pittsburgh Panthers. We mentioned Pittsburgh trying to get back to the Big East Championship game for the 6th time in 7 years, going back to Ben Howland's time as the head coach. Sosa with a stutter step doesn't get it to go, and the rebound brought down by Levon Kendall. Nice look inside. Who's guarding Gray as Clark is forced to foul?
Well, that's a communication mix-up that you cannot afford. Big Aaron Gray, how can you miss him? Standing right in the middle of these two guys. Just poor communication between Padgett and Clark.
He's the aircraft carrier standing under the basket at 7 foot, about 270 pounds. First team All Big East, not a great free throw shooter, struggled at times last night. But you know what, you look up at the end of the night, he's played 30 minutes. He's all battered and bruised, as Mark Jones showed us in the postgame interview last night. And he's pretty much a lock line for a double-double.
Well, he had a double-double the last time out against Louisville, obviously in a losing cause. But key to that, as we mentioned, saw at the beginning of the telecast, David Padgett is a guy who can occupy Aaron Gray, give him some problems.
Padgett going right at Gray with a jump hook. Be interesting to keep an eye on. Padgett played 39 minutes last night. Again, the game went double overtime, but Padgett, the knees not 100%, maybe never will be 100%, but a lot of these Cardinals played some heavy minutes a night ago.
Yeah, but you know what? Back on October 15th, this is why you run suicide. This is why you get in shape for tournaments like this.
A good start for Aaron Gray. He's got Pittsburgh's first 4 points of the night. Neither of these teams played on a Wednesday. They both earned a bye. Second game in as many nights for each. Brandon Jenkins, the senior from Detroit, misses the 3. Fell down, maybe trying to get a foul call, and that ends up resulting in an uncontested layup at the other end.
Well, I think he actually slipped. Now, he's a senior. He knows better than to try to draw a foul and fall down when he is the first line of defense. Good run out by Pitt, though, recognizing Jenkins is down.
A travel to call on Sosa.
Take a look at the shot, wide open shot, and he just backs up and trips. You know, it's one of those embarrassing moments, and Pitt made it even more embarrassing.
Antonio Graves with a layup. Both of these teams are deep. Pittsburgh comfortably 9 deep. Rick Pitino used a dozen players last night. Some of them only got a few minutes here and there, but he's got a lot of bodies at his disposal.
Well, Rick Pitino uses his guys strategically. He'll put walk-ons in, you know, make sure that they understand where they are, but they're there just to eat some minutes to let his frontline guys rest.
Pittsburgh, one of the better passing teams in America. You saw the extra passes there. They don't convert. Sosa, and that's the second foul on Aaron Gray. Oh, boy.
How about the recognition that Sosa had to meet the ball, get it away from Levance Fields, and then saw that path. Right there, Fields comes in, Sosa sees him, turns on the Jets, and that's all New York City right there. Take the bump, put a little English on it.
And the frustration on the face of the senior. He's going to be stuck on that bench for a while. Sam Young has come on for Gray. Young had a terrific night last night in the win over Marquette, scored 17 points, but obviously Pittsburgh goes much smaller as Levon Kendall moves into the middle now for the Panthers. And there's a foul on Andre McGee, just checked into the game. McGee got minutes in the second overtime last night for Edgar Sosa after he fouled out. And thank you very much. McGee's right back to the bench. Rick Pitino must have had something quick to say to Sosa.
Exactly. That was the strategic use of guys on the bench that Rick will employ. But we saw from McGee, the object is to get up in the faces of the ball handlers as well as the receivers and make sure that they don't get open looks. Mike Cook not a threat from out there, but the shooters will find people in their faces.
Young driving on Padgett. Throws it off Padgett out of bounds. What kind of a loss is this for Pittsburgh at each end of the floor to have Gray on the bench?
Well, look, I mean, when you lose a guy who's capable of giving you a double-double, who's that size and presents that kind of difficulty inside the guard on the offensive end, it's a huge loss. But it's not as though Pittsburgh hasn't played without him. And in some ways, it's a blessing and you get better ball handling because you've got more ball handlers out there on the floor. And if Louisville persists in pressure, at least you find a way to get yourself some open looks.
2 early fouls on Aaron Gray. The winner to get Georgetown in the championship game tomorrow night, 9 Eastern here on ESPN. Padgett going right to work. Dump down for Earl Clark. Turnaround jumper, no. Padgett, no. Padgett again.
And that's where you miss an Aaron Gray, second and third chance opportunities for Louisville.
And Kendall got a finger on it. It'll stay with the Cardinals, 19 to shoot. Whereas Padgett was giving up size and weight, height and weight to Aaron Gray. He's got a little bit of each over Levon Kendall.
Look at that split right there.
And eventually blocked out of bounds. Again, it stays with Louisville. Now 5 on the shot clock.
Well, you can tell one guy out there is playing relaxed. Sosa.
After last night, had his picture on the back page of the New York Post on that layup that sent the game to overtime. Big stuff for a city kid. Fields with a hesitation. Gray's open for 3, way wide to the right on that. It will be Pittsburgh ball when we come back. Early 1-point lead for Pittsburgh with their big fellas on the bench with a couple of fouls. Get some chow. Come on back to the Garden after this.
Championship week continues through Sunday on ESPN. And in part by the new 2007 Hyundai Sonata with America's best warranty.
Welcome back to New York City. What a time we've had this week here with the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. Pittsburgh up 1, but Aaron Gray land for those just joining us on the bench with 2 early fouls.
Well, first of all, Louisville trying to use David Padgett to bother him, and Edgar Sosa on the drive. Watch him look to make body contact. As I said, you don't get taught that by a coach. That's some experience, and that's some playing on the playgrounds in New York City.
With more on Aaron Gray, let's go to Mark Jones.
Yeah, guys, rough on the Gray family right now. Aaron on the bench with a couple of fouls, and Mom Sandy here nursing a bloody nose. She was hit by the stray ball on the blocked shot when Levon Kendall blocked the shot, and it came out of bounds. I'm told that she's going to be okay. The bleeding's going to be stopping pretty soon, but she told me she's all right, just a little shaken up, and she just wants Pitt to get things going, guys. Back to you.
Boy, a rough start for the whole family here tonight in New York. Aaron's parents have made every home game of his career and a lot of the road games that are in the general vicinity of the Northeast. They're from Emmaus, Pennsylvania, but unfortunately for them, they're just going to be watching their son sit on the bench for a while until Jamie Dixon decides he needs him again.
Again, you look at the Louisville defense just right up in the chest of the ball handlers.
Sam Young open for three. Kept alive, but into the hands of Sosa. Jerry Smith, freshman guard, number 34, into the game for the Cardinals, along with the much-discussed Derek Character. They had a very quiet night, just 1 point. Didn't get many minutes at all. A tough matchup, Rick Pitino said, against West Virginia last night. Sosa around the hedge by Kendall. Spins into the lane. Little fadeaway, not there. Rebound Cook.
And now you're getting a sense of sometimes when Rick gets frustrated with Edgar Sosa not playing with his teammates.
Fields a little strong on the three. Numbers for the Cardinals. Terrence Williams.
How about that patience right there? Waited for the traffic to clear. He got a little bit of an opening and sliced through, but totally under control.
One-point lead for Louisville. Fields just a sophomore, but quickly developing into one of the best point guards in the Big East. Second team All Big East this year. So much experience on this Pittsburgh team. They never seem to have a young group. Cook's jumper goes down. He's been a real addition to the team after transferring from East Carolina.
And Mike Cook is one of those guys that can create shots on his own.
Nice screen by Clark. Williams a forward, but he leads the team in assists. He does a lot of the handling. Sosa for three. Rebound Fields.
Sosa's taking the last three shots from the field for Louisville. And I think it's time to get some other guys involved.
1 for 7. Young's going to be a key figure in this game. Rick Pitino very upset with his team's defense as he calls a timeout. Pittsburgh no gray, but a 3-point lead over the Cardinals.
Saturdays, anyone can rock it on a Saturday. Give me something to look forward to on a Wednesday between my boss and my commute. Give me surround sound in my cubicle. Give me grilled chicken that keeps things light with an Asian glaze that keeps things interesting. Give me a half rack of ribs and a full rack of napkins. Give me the top down and a wide open lane. Give me a cedar seared salmon that only tastes expensive. Give me a new way to eat out. Smaller portions and prices so I can rock it any day I want. Life is short. Give me more Fridays.
Well, what have you done for me lately? Last night, Edgar Sosa with a layup to send the game to overtime. Louisville beats West Virginia in double overtime. Edgar's on the back page of the newspapers. New York City kid. BMOC tonight. Just got a serious tongue lashing from Rick Pitino and is now back on the bench.
Well, out of 13 field goal attempts for Louisville, Sosa's taken 7 and only made 1. And as I mentioned before, he needed to work on distributing the ball and taking guys and putting pressure on. Derek Character gets a little bit, but this ire is aimed at Edgar Sosa, who's the leader out there on the floor. And I was going to say cover your ears, but maybe you should close your eyes if you're a lip reader.
Foul was on Kendall. Derek Character a little bit too exuberant in making his move. He's called for the offensive foul.
And that's something, again, young big men have to learn. You receive, you turn, you locate. You know, Levon Kendall, he's been around. He understands, particularly the anxiety of just getting in the ball game after having limited time yesterday. The Character wants to make something happen quickly.
3-point lead for Pittsburgh, 7 minutes in. Much lower scoring start to this game than the Georgetown Notre Dame game. Won by the Hoyas 84-82 in a thriller in the first semifinal. Cook. And Cook is going to shoot 3 free throws, fouled by Perrin Johnson. Mike Cook thought of as somewhat of a complimentary player, but he's always in the mix. Had a very good night last night against the Golden Eagles. Let's get more now with Mark Jones.
Yeah, had a good night, but guys, as we saw, he suffered from cramping late in the ball game. Had a chance to speak with him prior to this run tonight, and I asked him about it. He said that he had his fluid intake monitored by the medical staff today. He made sure to drink a lot of Gatorade, a lot of water. Said it was the first time this season or ever that he can ever remember suffering from cramps. He doesn't anticipate any problems tonight, and that sleeve you see on his left calf has nothing to do with the cramping issue from yesterday, guys.
All right, Jonesy, thank you. Right now, the officials are checking to see if Cook should be given 2 or 3 free throws, and Tim Higgins says 3. He's working this game with Jim Burr and Brian O'Connell. If you ever wondered about the relevance of conference tournaments, look at what it means to Rick Pitino. This is a team that's going to get a high seed safely in the tournament and so forth. But there's something about winning your league. And for Rick Pitino, like a lot of the players in this game, there's something about coming back to New York City and playing a game in this environment, in this building.
Well, obviously Louisville newcomers to this conference, but, you know, what's the use of being in the conference if you don't want to go out and be the best in the conference? If you don't have the mindset that despite being in the NCAA tournament, despite being comfortable, that there's some pride to be played for. There's some gold out there for you to garner.
Great success in the postseason for Rick Pitino, both in conference tournaments and in the big dance.
Yeah, if you're a competitor worth your salt, you come in here with an idea that you're going to win regardless of what's at stake in the NCAA tournament.
Characters jump hook, his first 2 of the night.
Well, there's no doubting that Derek Character is a talent down on the low block. He's got a lot of moves, strength and size. Question is, again, whether he can grasp the system, whether he can learn how to play defense, and really play the power forward position, which he's probably more suited for than playing the center, the 5 position.
He's averaging about 13 a game over 6 games until last night. Biggs with a nice dump down. Shot is blocked. Tyrell Biggs gets it back and draws the foul. And it's going to be the Sam Youngs and the Tyrell Biggses and the guys like that who are going to have to step up tonight with Aaron Gray anchored to the bench with 2 early fouls.
I can feel a change a-coming, start anew. Change, a change will do you good.
Michelob Light, crafted with noble European aroma hops. For a full-flavored light beer as distinctive as the bottle itself. Michelob Light, distinct by design.
Challenge doesn't build character. It reveals it. Through the market's ups and downs, Oppenheimer Funds has proven we have what it takes to keep moving forward. Just one reason why Barron's has recognized Oppenheimer Funds for having some of the top portfolio managers in the business. Oppenheimer Funds, the right way to invest.
Carefully consider fund investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Call your advisor for a prospectus with this and other fund information. Read it carefully before investing.
The 2007 Hyundai Santa Fe. Flexible, agile, and for whatever shape life takes.
Unbelievable game going on between Utah and Nevada in the WAC semis. The steal here with Nevada down by 2, and check out Marcellus Kemp spinning and hitting to tie this one at 77, but then Chaz Spicer answers for the Aggies. They called the block, but the shot did not count. He hit both free throws, though, and Utah State has won it by 2. So Nevada now is going to steal a bid from a bubble team.
How about that, Dave? Big developments in the WAC, and anytime that, as an announcer, you can get to say a name like Chaz Spicer, you're having a pretty solid night. 13-9 Pittsburgh. There's Louisville's season. Started slowly. A lot of health problems early. 4 or 5 players in and out of the lineup with injuries. But boy, have they come on for 2 big reasons. 1, better health. And 2, they have started sharing the basketball better. Specifically, Terrence Williams and Edgar Sosa. Although Sosa tonight, not so much. And that's why he's a lot closer to his coach than he is to the court right now.
Fortunately, he's a guy that Louisville cannot do without on the floor, and he's sitting there trying to, as I always say, gain some perspective on the game, see where he might fit, and he'll get back in.
We have a veteran in Andre McGee who backs him up at the point in the game right now. David Padgett has returned for the Cardinals. Again, if you're just joining us, Aaron Gray, 2 fouls in the first 3.5 minutes. He's been on the bench since. Williams, he's tough. When he's on, he is tough.
Let's see, we got 11:25 that's left on the clock in the first half, and I don't think T. Will has attempted a 3-point shot, has he?
Not so far. Got a couple of 2-pointers. Has not attempted a 3.
And, you know, he's got to focus now on what makes him effective. Not to say that he shouldn't shoot him, but he shouldn't shoot him often at 26%.
Travel on Ramon. Good call by Tim Higgins. Let's revisit Williams' acrobatic athletic move at the other end.
Well, that's the key, the athleticism. Here, shot clock around 14:10. And he just makes a nice move, gets into mid-range, and just able to elevate and shoot softly.
Well, the light bulb went on a little while ago. There's the drive and the dish again as he draws the foul. Rick Pitino kept supplying the light bulb, but it took a while for it to go on, but it's gone on now, and Louisville is better for it. Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale, semifinal number 2 from New York City. With Len Elmore, Mark Jones, I'm Dan Shulman. At Georgetown 84, Notre Dame 82 in the first one. If you missed it, shame on you. What a game it was. The Irish had an open 3 from Russell Carter, who had a big night to win it, but it wouldn't go down for him. The Hoyas will take on the winner of this game in the championship tomorrow night. Antonio Graves flies to the basket for the left-handed layup.
Boy, and that's a name we haven't heard that much. They really didn't need him, but Graves has been a guy that's given a lift offensively to Pitt, but going back inside to David Padgett, who needs to get more touches considering the personnel out there on the floor for Pitt.
And again, the pass from Terrence Williams. He's drawing a crowd and he's finding open people.
Talked about the first game between these two teams and that Louisville swarmed Pitt. Well, we're starting to see that swarm materialize right here.
Sam Young rims out.
And the purpose for that kind of pressure all around is to get Pitt to scramble and not let their standstill catch and shoot guys feel any comfort.
Williams thinking pass first again. Padgett, the kick. Jerry Smith, great shooter. Just a freshman from just outside Milwaukee. Smith on the season 47% from three-point range. Oh, and then a silly foul. Boy, we have seen in this tournament 4 or 5 fouls that just make you scratch your head.
Well, again, with a freshman, sometimes you're not surprised. But look at Padgett with the touch, just draws the defense in. And the nice follow-through. And again, T-Will finding Padgett, who's been more assertive in calling for the ball. And that's an advantage that Louisville has inside without Aaron Gray on the floor.
Steal by McGee. 1-on-2. And swatted out of bounds by Graves. Kendall has returned for Pittsburgh. Jenkins has returned for Louisville. Padgett inside. That's one of his patented moves right there.
And Louisville's starting to go to him more often.
Do you think the game dictates, the score dictates whether Jamie Dixon bites the bullet and sends Aaron Gray back into the game here in the first half?
Yeah, I think that the score certainly does. I mean, you can go into the half at a deficit and have an Aaron Gray with few fouls on him. But if they start dropping in double figures, you've got to bring them back in.
First foul on Padgett will send Young to the line.
And the other thing is, let's make David Padgett work a little bit. Certainly Louisville is getting the most out of him on the offensive end.
Here's Sam Young suffering from bad knees on and off this year. Looked great last night with 17 against Marquette. More subs coming in, but no sign of Gray. Sosa and Clark, a couple of freshmen, return for the Cardinals. Cook back in for Benjamin and for Pittsburgh. Louisville has 4 freshmen led in their top 7 or 8. And they have all played well down the stretch here for the Cardinals.
Well, combined, they're averaging about 28 points a game, which is 40% of the scoring for Louisville. So they're definitely integral parts.
2 of them in the game right now, and Sosa and Clark. Clark is a 6'8" guy with very good perimeter skills. Rick Pitino.
Nice slip.
And the block is going to go on Graves.
I tell you, David Paget's awake. And this time, so is Edgar Sosa. You see the slip right there. Nice job of moving off. It wasn't Sosa that passed, but he comes off looking like he wants the ball. And that's why Sam Young lost concentration, because Sosa asked for the ball.
Oh, is that guy Terrence Williams again with another bullet pass. He's just a completely different player than he was a couple of months ago. Williams out, Jerry Smith in.
Well, I think a lot of it is the reinforcement. They probably watch television also, and they hear guys like us telling them, you're taking bad shots from beyond the arc, and you're shooting 26%.
The numbers don't lie.
Right. You are what your numbers say you are. You get inside of that line, though, and you're so effective, and all of a sudden he starts to realize that, hey, I'm getting positive reinforcement that way.
Well, the pressure here from the Cardinals. They get a lot of offense off their defense. But Pittsburgh, an experienced, savvy bunch with some good ball handlers.
Actually, I didn't mean to give us too much credit.
I think you might be bang on. Smith, the quick 3. Timeout, Pittsburgh. 12-1 run for the Cardinals.
Jerry Smith has been terrific, almost 50% from beyond the arc in the last month or so. And he just buries it very quickly on the catch and shoot. And Derek Character down low. Aaron Gray on the bench, as we see. Every big man for Louisville's got to be cognizant of the fact that there is no true center out there. And so you can have your way if you're focused and assertive.
Aaron Gray, 2 fouls in the first 3.5 minutes. He's a senior. He would love to get it back to the championship game of the Big East tournament. A 12-1 run for Louisville. All of it with Gray on the bench. And Jamie Dixon's going to leave him there, at least for now.
And you know what? Rick Pitino says, okay, so why should I burn my 2 big men when Aaron Gray's on the bench and we got a decent lead? So you saw Character and Paget both sitting down getting a rest.
Terrence Farley, a junior out of Louisville, 6'10", doesn't play a whole lot, has come in. Young. And the rebound down to Clark behind the back in traffic. Fortunate not to turn it over. Woo.
Oh, boy. The enthusiasm of use, man.
Rick Pitino probably just said note to self. Let's talk to Earl about not doing that anymore. Jenkins can't get a shot off. It'll stay at this end of the floor. 8 on the shot clock for the Cardinals. The Panthers need to step it up with the big man on the bench.
Step aside and mind your manners. Show respect for the champion banner. Come step up, cause we're ready to step on anybody in our way, and our game is Teflon.
The 2007 Hyundai Santa Fe. Flexible, agile, and for whatever shape life takes.
Ahead on SportsCenter, how long this vicious hit could keep Chris Simon off the ice, why Kobe's return could be bad news for the Sixers' winning streak, plus which running back is replacing Kiki Barber. SportsCenter, after the game.
The race is on to see who will become the official small business of NASCAR, courtesy of Office Depot. Log on to ESPN.com, search Office Depot, and get on the right track to getting your company's logo on my car. Watch NASCAR now to see who wins.
choose any road. The 2007 all-wheel drive IS250 from Lexus. Lease it for $389 per month for 36 months with $34.89 due at signing for a limited time at your Lexus dealer.
We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Like leasing a Hyundai Sonata, named a Consumer's Digest Best Buy. Now just $199 a month with $999 due at signing. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
Updating you on the Big 12, Baylor and Texas. The winner gets Oklahoma State, which beat Texas A&M. Henry Dugat for the Bears. Look at this. Baylor on top 34-19. Kevin Durant is 0 for 11 in the game. Has not scored. Over on ESPN2 in the ACC, it's Virginia Tech up 4 on Wake. Dan.
Dave, a wild championship week. Dave will be back at halftime with all the latest results from the SEC, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, some games in the Pac-10 tonight as well. Well, perhaps as a direct result of Aaron Gray being anchored to the bench with 2 fouls, Louisville 12-4 outscoring Pittsburgh in the paint right now.
And another indicator, when Aaron Gray left, Louisville has outscored Pittsburgh 18-12. So 2 indicators that Aaron Gray has missed.
Antonio Graves is playing with a little extra hop in his step tonight. He'll go to the line for 2.
And that's how you compensate for the loss of your post player. Still want to be able to attack in the paint. So now you have to do it off the bounce. You got to use your athleticism. You got to look for easy opportunities to get some layup.
Second foul on David Padgett. And that'll send Padgett to the bench as Derek Carrington comes back in. Padgett, a transfer from Kansas. Double knee surgery in the spring. The Cardinals are without Juan Palacios again tonight. Usually their starting power forward out with the back spasms. Earl Clark filling in for him. They don't expect to have Palacios available tomorrow night should they advance, and uncertain about his availability for the NCAA tournament. Zone here from Pittsburgh. Shot clock now down to 5. Williams looking for a little space. He creates it and did not hit the rim on the shot, so that's a turnover.
Well, the problem with that is the ball mostly traveled around the perimeter, east-west. And it was easy for the defense just to shuffle back and forth from side to side. You got to go inside. After a couple of trips around the horn, you got to go inside and give the defense another look. Force them to adjust and maybe collapse.
Cook inside. And how about Pittsburgh as Rick Pitino calls a timeout? Still without Aaron Gray. They've battled back with a 4-0 run here to get back within a point.
Conversely, Pittsburgh right away looking inside, and it creates all kinds of problems right there. Got some mismatches. Mike Cook equally as well down on the block as well as on the perimeter.
We invite you to join us again tomorrow night. College basketball on ESPN continues tomorrow from the Garden, 9 o'clock Eastern. Georgetown will take on the winner of this game for the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. That 84-82 win for the Hoyas over the Irish in the first semifinal. Jeff Green, the player of the year in the Big East, had a career night. 30 points and 12 rebounds. He was magnificent, and Patrick Ewing Jr. was outstanding for the Hoyas as well.
Well, Patrick Ewing Jr. came in and gave them an energy lift that, you know, that's the kind of stuff coaches dream of when they look down the bench and point to you and say, get on in there.
Yep. Knows his role, embraces his role. Double team on character.
But you see, just by going into him, forced the adjustment by Pitt.
And a foul on Kendall. A lot of contact inside. Kendall's picked up his second. So 2 on Gray, now 2 on Kendall.
You know, just the mere fact that Derek Carter received inside, you get a double team. You see Kendall trying to battle from behind. Character kind of initiated the contact. Kendall using his leg to kind of push Character out and got called for it.
6th team foul. Character, nice bounce pass into Clark. Knocked out of bounds by Cook.
Nice drop down by Derek Character.
6'8", 265. He's got to stay at that weight if he wants to play, and he's been doing a better job of that, working a lot with former Cardinal Ellis Miles in recent weeks. Jenkins misses the follow. Character had it knocked away, and it's Pittsburgh ball.
Well, for all the good things Derek Character has done thus far, again, still needs to learn. You get an offensive rebound in a crowd like that, you bring that ball down, you're the same size as all the little guys, you get it taken away, stripped away.
Foul on Jenkins of Louisville, although when he ran into Cook's shoulder, he wound up flying about 30 feet. Louisville's over the limit, so Cook back to the line for 1-1.
Right, Mike Cook doesn't play, man. He starts putting the ball on the floor. He's got that forearm and that shoulder down.
Yep.
You kind of want to avoid contact.
15-point-per-game guy at East Carolina, and this year, over 10 points per game. Also a very good passer. One of the things that Jamie Dixon likes the best about Cook. Cook admitting to a little bit of nerves last night, playing for the first time in a game of this magnitude. Missed the front end. This time it's Young playing defense on Character. Very active. He knocked the ball away.
Well, we saw that yesterday. Sam Young understanding how to play the post by moving his feet.
Missed by Cook. Sosa on the run. Kendall got back to block it. Ripped it away from Sosa. Pittsburgh running. Young has it. Knocked away on the foul by Earl Clark. The Pittsburgh bench exploded after the block and then the run out of the other end.
Well, they're just pleased with the compensation for the loss of Aaron Gray. And again, look at the quick footwork of Sam Young to get in position. He didn't just lay behind Derek Character and reach. And then the hustle by LaVon Kendall coming in for the block as the defenders slowed Sosa down and allowed Kendall to get set up.
Young misses a free throw. Jamie Dixon, even though they've missed a couple of free throws here, he's got to feel great about the fact that they're back within one. With Aaron Gray having been on the bench for 11 and a half minutes after picking up his second foul. Although they got to start knocking down some free throws right now. They could have the lead.
That's right. You can't be too happy with the missed opportunities.
Lob inside. Smith the miss. Character rolls out of bounds as he gets the ball. It'll belong to the Panthers again.
See, I'm not so much in favor of the kind of lob pass to guys who aren't playing above the rim. I mean, you saw an example right there. Jerry Smith is too much of his momentum carrying him away from the basket.
Biggs back in for Young, and the deeper into the half this goes, and the closer Pittsburgh stays, the more likely it is that Aaron Gray is staying on the bench. They've weathered a storm for a long time without their best player. Ramon for three. Rebound Sosa. Williams, a nice find to Perrin Johnson.
Perrin Johnson was hiding. You know, he was behind the backboard. I don't think any of the Pitt defenders even knew he was there. He's hiding behind the backboard and just stepped up in time to catch that pass.
You know, this year, Jeff McDermott of Providence, a forward, led the Big East in assists. Terrence Williams, if he keeps playing like this over a full season, has a chance to do that in the next couple of years. Kendall into traffic, muscles it in. First points of the night for the fifth-year senior from Vancouver.
Although, truth be known, this is more of a three-guard offense. You know, Terrence Williams could be considered a small forward, no question, but he's got more of a guards game in an athlete's body. Not to say that guards aren't athletes.
I don't want to get you in trouble with all the little guys who fed you the ball for so many years. Great catch by Williams. I mean, he can just do things that most people can't. That is just ridiculous.
He will.
When he puts it on the floor, when he looks for teammates, he's special. Biggs in some trouble. Finds Ramon.
You see how closing out quickly, how staying close really not allowed guys to get catch and shoot, although that's a terrific pass by Kendall, who kind of looked over his shoulder and located the cutters.
Nice big-to-big passing there from Kendall to Biggs.
But there were several opportunities there in that last possession that Pitt wanted to catch and pull up for the jump shot, and the defense wouldn't allow it.
Character with the quick move and one. Well, Biggs, Character, both guys from the greater New York City or New Jersey area. A bunch of them are in the house tonight. We'll tell you all about it when we come back.
National Drug Month going on.
Dave Repson with you. Cisco halftime report coming up. Why our brackets are suddenly in a state of confusion. Oklahoma State still alive in the Big 12. NC State making it 2 straight upsets in the ACC. We'll show you how they did in Virginia. And Cats fans in a state of frustration after the loss to the Bulldogs. That plus bad news for the bubble team, and Texas down big to Baylor.
An action-packed Cisco halftime report with Dave Repson and company coming up 2 minutes and 50 seconds from now. Louisville leading Pittsburgh by 3. Both of these teams heavily influenced and fortified by their New York area connection. That's a lot of talent coming out of these parts, Leonard.
Well, I mean, in the metropolitan area, we know that it's a hotbed, and as I said, on any given day, you can go to rec center, community center, AAU practices, some of the better-known AAU programs in America right here in New York City, and these guys are products.
You're a New York City guy. What do you remember? When was the first time you played in this building, and what did it mean to you?
First time we played here was, I think, 1969. We played Boys High, kind of a battle of 2 legendary high schools. I went to Powell Memorial, and we fell behind early, but we wound up blowing them out. And just to be playing on the same floor as Willis Reed and Clyde Frazier and those guys are boyhood heroes. And I hate to say that because I still see those guys. And they'll get on me for calling them old. But it was a special treat, and that's the same feeling I'm sure all of these guys have. They know this is the Mecca.
Vance Fields misses the 3 with a shot clock running down. Williams, the 12-footer.
Mid-range. That should be his middle name.
On his way to what looks like another big night. Louisville's got to back out to a 5-point lead. Under 2 minutes to go first half. And Biggs with a travel. Good call by Brian O'Connell. Championship weekend, college basketball on ESPN. Continue tomorrow with both ACC semifinal games. First at 1:30 Eastern, Boston College taking on North Carolina. Then at 3:30, North Carolina State, which knocked off Virginia tonight, taking on the winner of the Virginia Tech Wake Forest game. Some may see alternate programming in ACC markets.
You get a chance to see Tyler Hansbrough fitted with his mask. Obviously, it takes some time to adjust because Tyler didn't have a Hansbrough-like day, especially in the first half. But coming out with the win, I'm sure, is all that he cares about right now, and there's always tomorrow.
North Carolina certainly in the mix for a #1 seed. Ohio State won earlier today. Kansas won earlier today. Florida beat Georgia today fairly convincingly, very convincingly. 5-point lead, Louisville. And what a game it was last night that the Cardinals had to get here. A double overtime win over a game bunch of West Virginia Mountaineers.
Well, you take a look at this shot right here. Darius Nichols, big time play, but no timeout called by Rick Pitino. And Edgar Sosa fumbles the ball. He could have panicked and went for a jump shot, but instead his momentum carried him to the basket. And then, obviously in the first and second overtime, going inside to David Padgett. Just a total team effort for Louisville.
They tend to have good games against one another. Remember the Elite 8 game a couple of years ago, won in overtime by Louisville. So West Virginia will have to squirm until Sunday to find out if they get an at-large. Meanwhile, look who's back, Len, after going out 15 minutes ago with his second foul. Aaron Gray is back at least for the offensive possession, but they have to play some defense as well. He's going to be awfully careful.
Yeah, and I'm kind of not understanding this. With only a minute and 20 when he came in left, you could weather that minute and 20. You're only down 5. And I don't know how effective Aaron Gray is going to be.
Fields off the side of the backboard.
It's a huge risk by Jamie Dixon, I think.
After weathering the storm for as long as they did. Williams will launch a 3.
And if you look at Aaron Gray, he's not really doing anything. He's just standing there. And so he's not effective. Get a guy in there who's going to be able to chase. He's going to be able to do some things to help your defense.
And now the Cardinals, after the 3 by McGee, have their largest lead of the night. We get a 4-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock. 1 shot, Jamie Dixon is screaming. He wants them to run the clock down as much as they can so Louisville doesn't get a good look.
And if I'm Terrence Farley, if the ball goes into Aaron Gray, I'm going to make myself wide and I'm going to flop.
Fields the miss. They didn't run that clock down as much as Dixon wanted. Well, what a boost this would be for the Cardinals if they can convert again here. Williams from the corner. How about the finish to the first half for Louisville?
10-0 run, and Terrence Williams puts the exclamation point on it. And that's what makes him an effective three-point shooter when he's piled up a high percentage inside the arc. He can relax. Just a simple penetrate. You see the help come. The kick to T-Will. Feet set, and he buries it. Once again, you see the help come over. Mike Cook makes a mistake instead of staying home, and T-Will makes him pay.
Pittsburgh's got a job ahead of them in the second half, down 11 to a confident bunch of Cardinals. Let's send it to Dave Revson in the studio for the Cisco halftime report.
Thank you, Dan. So Louisville in good shape to get what would be its 8th straight win. Welcome in the Cisco halftime report. A wild night, chock full of upsets, major implications for the bubble teams. Dave Revson, Tom Brennan, Doug Gottlieb. Let's get you right to it. First, we'll get you caught up on the other game in the Big East. In case you missed it, Notre Dame and Georgetown. Georgetown 10-0 all time as the #1 seed in this tourney. Roy Hibbert hits down low. Hoyas by 2. They shot 53%, but Torrey Jackson answers for the Irish. We're tied at 82.
How good has he been replacing Kyle McElharney? Very good.
Jeff Green was brilliant, though. Career high, 30 points for him. Hoyas up by 2. Irish had a chance.
Good look.
Russell Carter can't hit it, though.
Not getting a better shot than that. They went for the win, just what they should have done.
And Bray's team falls 84-82. Coming up, we state the case for the states. Upset aplenty and what it means for the bubble teams. That's all coming up.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And in part by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge.
But Spicer would go to the line, hit the first, and hits the second.
Remember, Utah State just beat Nevada at home. This game being played in Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Ramon Sessions, the desperation 3 doesn't go. Nevada loses. That means one bid gone from the bubble teams because they are most certainly in. Let's check out Texas and Baylor. It has not been a vintage night for Kevin Durant.
Well, you know, it's good to know that unlike Joe Hardy, he has not sold his soul to the devil because he's only 1 for 13. Means he's human, which we didn't know for sure watching him all the rest of the year.
Meanwhile, Baylor's been great. Curtis Gerald's with 13 points. The Bears, 43-25 on top of Texas. Here's what Durant's done, and it's not a whole lot.
This shouldn't be a total surprise, though. 2 meetings in the regular season. Texas won by 5 and just 1 point in Waco.
So if Baylor wins, they would get the winner of Oklahoma State and Texas A&M. Of course, if Texas wins, they would get the winner. Mario Bogan, Cowboys, looking to pull the upset. And late in the ball game, Bogan puts the Pokes up by 1 at 57-56. One last chance for the Aggies.
Really surprised AC gave it up there. I would have thought he'd have taken that ball to the hole.
Kavalauskas, he's got several open options inside. Joseph Jones open.
But Oklahoma State pulls off the upset 57-56. So now it is the Cowboys moving on. Again, they probably have to win this thing.
Not probably. No, not probably. They do.
They've got to win it.
6-10 in conference play. Didn't win a road game. Does that count as a road win?
No, sir.
No.
Big number here. Kansas playing Kansas State. Kansas has beaten the Wildcats, who, by the way, are in the tournament now. They're in. They thumped Texas Tech today. But Kansas beaten them 34 of the last 35 meetings.
And Kansas can't slip here. They need to keep getting better.
Well, let's go to the SEC. Mississippi State and Kentucky on a day where the upsets were flowing. This is Jody Meeks with a chance to ice the game for the Wildcats. What happens, TV?
Well, what happens is Tubby tells Sheree Thomas to leave the lane. At that point, the referee throws the ball to the shooter. Realizing he made a mistake, he asked for the ball back. But now somebody on the other side called it a violation.
The official didn't make the mistake.
The official made the mistake. He should have brought the ball back. You're just trying to get things right in that case, not jam somebody.
That's Shamar Gordon sending it into overtime after the violation. Then Meeks misses one inside. On the other end, here come the Bulldogs. Barry Stewart and the foul makes the free throw. Mississippi State up by 2. One last chance for the Cats. It's deflected, and that is your ball game. As Tubby's team falls 84-82. So Mississippi State moves on. They get Arkansas, which beat Vandy 72-71. Florida, no problem with Georgia. They await the winner of Ole Miss LSU.
I thought Florida was up too much too soon.
That theory's got a few holes at this point.
After it was 17-0, by the way. After 17-0, Georgia, Florida, even game. There you go.
There's a game going on the deuce right now. Wake and Virginia Tech. A.D. Vasayo.
Much better this kid has gotten since the beginning of the year. I remember we saw him in Orlando. He really struggled, but he's got it going now.
It's the Hokies on top by 2 at the break. Again, that game on ESPN2. Sidney Lowe.
A tribute to Norm Sloan with the sport coat.
NC State taking on Virginia. Brandon Costner, how great has he been?
30 last night.
22 in this game. Costner for 3. NC State up by 6. They shot 53%. Gavin Grant finishing it off.
How about the good wins? Those are good wins. This team continues to fight. They beat Carolina. They beat Vatech at Vatech. And NC State keeps winning. You keep playing. Anybody who says the NCAA tournament hasn't begun is not paying attention. You keep winning. You keep playing. You get to go to the big game.
You're absolutely right.
So North Carolina State waits the winner of that Virginia Tech Wake game. North Carolina and Boston College, both winners earlier today.
This halftime report is presented by Cisco. Welcome to the
Louisville hasn't lost since his return, and they're on top at the half.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And in part by GMC. We are professional grade.
Ignition sequence start.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Don't miss Dick's Sporting Goods Golf-a-thon, our biggest golf sale of the year.
Check out new technology, like the Nike Sumo Squares.
The new tailor-made burner.
And Callaway X20 irons.
Plus, you'll save on drivers.
A great selection of irons.
And golf balls like the Nike Indy X Turbo.
And Schlesinger Raw.
All at Dick's Golf-a-thon going on now.
Giving the new Sierra more power doesn't make it professional grade. Giving it more power while making it more fuel efficient does. Introducing the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra. The only pickup that offers more than 300 horsepower and over 20 EPA estimated highway miles per gallon. That's professional grade.
The Energy Select Sector Spider. Visit us on the web at sectorspdrs.com or call 1-800-THE-AMEX now.
We may not all be geniuses, but we can all do something smart. Like leasing a Hyundai Sonata, named a Consumer's Digest Best Buy. Now just $199 a month with $999 due at signing. It's a smart deal on a really smart car.
Pitt football season tickets are on sale now. Call 1-800-643-PITT or visit PittsburghPanthers.com to reserve your seats for all 7 home events at Heinz Field this season. Your family can join one of the nation's top recruiting classes at Heinz Field this fall. Buy one season ticket and get the second for only $10 in one of our first and 10 reserve sections. Or try the 7 and 07 family package, where you can reserve 4 season tickets for just $77. Call 1-800-643-PITT today.
So incredible, unforgettable. If you battle us, find out it's just not winnable. We step up, cause we're ready to step on anybody in our way, and our game is Teflon.
It is championship week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. Semifinal number 2 for the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale from Madison Square Garden. And how about them Louisville Cardinals up 11 on Pittsburgh right now. A 10-0 run to end the first half. As we bring you back inside the Garden, Dan Shulman and Len Elmore with you. And undoubtedly, Len, the key play were the key plays, the 2 early fouls on Aaron Gray.
Well, absolutely. When Aaron Gray departed for the foul trouble, he left the door wide open for Louisville to exploit the paint. And their front line has done a terrific job. Between Terrence Williams, David Padgett, and Derek Character, that's 23 of the 37 points that Louisville has put on the board.
Gray played only 4 minutes in the first half. The winner gets Georgetown tomorrow night in the championship game. Antonio Graves knocks down Pittsburgh's first three-pointer of the night.
Well, prior to that, they were 0 for 6 and had gotten some pretty good looks. In fact, wide open looks.
Graves the high score now for Pitt with 9. Terrence Williams 11 points to go with 3 assists for the Cardinals. Hit a 3 late in the first half, misses this one. Rebound Cook. Well, you know, fatigue's not going to be a problem for Gray in the second half. Right now, somebody on Louisville better check Antonio Graves. Pitt is back in this game in a heartbeat.
Rick Pitino recognizes that. Zone not working.
Well, that didn't take long. A couple of threes for Graves, and the 11-point deficit is down to 5.
The NCAA Women's Basketball Championship, March 17th through April 3rd. When we redesigned the GMC Sierra, our engineers examined everything and overlooked nothing. That's why the all-new Sierra has the best expected resale value of any new full-size pickup. Then we added the best coverage in America for a new level of confidence on the road or off it. That's professional grade.
So I think the meeting went really well.
Great job, Abby. I wish some of our managers worked as hard as you do.
Well, I guess you'll just have to promote me to manager then, huh? Oh, there's a new sheriff in town. I understand that I have to work my way up, though.
Switch to the network with the fewest dropped calls. Now get an ultra-thin Samsung phone for only $19.99. Singular is now the new AT&T. Your world delivered.
At T. Rowe Price, successful investing is about balancing risk and reward intelligently. For each 1, 5, and 10-year period, 70% of our mutual funds beat their Lipper average, finding the right opportunity. Low-cost mutual funds from T. Rowe Price. Invest with confidence. Request a complete prospectus or profile with investment objectives, risks, fees, expenses, and other information to read and consider carefully before investing.
This year, we're granting over 1 million dreams during the Disney Dreams giveaway. Like small surprises, magical fast passes, and for the first time ever, a stay at Cinderella's castle. So come live your dream during the year of 1 million dreams at the place where dreams come true. Visit DisneyParks.com.
Well, just 40 seconds into the second half, Rick Pitino calls a timeout after back-to-back threes by Antonio Graves cut the Louisville lead to 5. And in the first half, Len, Pittsburgh had great looks, but came up empty.
Yeah, wide open looks. You see not a white shirt within 12 feet. And a shot blank right there. In the second half, wide open Antonio Graves just said, hey, somebody's got to make one. And he said, maybe I'll try it again.
Graves 40% of the season from beyond the arc. For much of the season, Pittsburgh led the Big East in three-point shooting. Oh, a giveaway there by Earl Clark. Graves off to Fields, and nearly another basket, and now they give it away again. Boy, the Cardinals are a mess here in the opening minute of the second half.
For some reason, they're too rushed. I don't know what happened during that timeout, but anxiety set in.
Gray to Kendall, an 8-0 run for Pittsburgh to open the second half. Missed defensive assignments, turnovers, not boxing out. Now Gray, Gray just picked up his third. A minute and 22 into the second half. After hardly playing it all in the first half.
We're going to take a look here again. Obviously, you got to pay attention to David Patrick. He's done a nice job inside. Here's a little push with the right hand. Just a bit of a swim move just to get Gray in front.
Earl Clark count the basket, but an offensive foul. So give Clark the basket. Tonight's first half stats presented by Guinness. We mentioned Pittsburgh did not hit a three in the first half. They've already knocked down 2 here in the second half. The other big statistical story, and we'll show it to you when we have an opportunity. Boy, that looked like a foul. Wow, did that look like a foul. And instead, Kendall's going to pick up one. That's his third. So the two big guys, the two seniors, each with 3 fouls for Pittsburgh. Look at the rebounding advantage for Louisville. And again, Len, you can say that's a direct result of Aaron Gray being on the bench.
Absolutely. And you look at the poor three-point field goal shooting, which obviously has been neutralized by Antonio Graves here in the second half. But those numbers for Pitt in the first half without Aaron Gray was anything but brilliant.
Sosa's back on the bench again for the Cardinals. McGee has returned. Aaron Gray and Levon Kendall are both smart players. They're going to have to play awfully smart here to stay on the floor. That foot just got over the line. Another Louisville turnover. Rick Pitino can't make subs quickly enough. Here comes Perrin Johnson.
And the frustrating part of it for Rick Pitino is the fact that his team has the lead, and they're playing as though, and you see the right foot, the heel on the line. A good call by the official. Good catch. You got to be frustrated because you're playing with the lead instead of playing like you have the lead, relaxed and in control. Louisville scrambling as though they're behind by 10, and that's where you make mistakes.
Gray with a soft touch.
And very subtly using his rear end to make room. Kept bumping David Patrick, till he got to where he wanted to be.
As valuable a part of the body as a big man has, right?
In this game, if you got one, use it.
Yep. McGee wide open for 3. Johnson had a hand on it, out of bounds to the Panthers.
Watch Aaron Gray down low. He gets it, look at him. Received. There's a bump one. There's another bump. The second was a little more obvious.
Magic's got 2 fouls. Gray and Kendall each have picked up their third early here in the second half. Cook open on the wing. All of a sudden, Pittsburgh is heating up. And just like that, they've come all the way back to tie it after being down 11 at halftime.
And it is no coincidence that it's happening with Aaron Gray on the floor.
Williams the miss. Kendall, or Graves rather. Not, yes, it goes down. As Graves points to the ceiling, points to the sky after his third third three of the second half.
And never doubt a shooter or the shooter's role.
What a stunning turnaround here in the second half. Brandon Jenkins did not get the friendly roll that Graves did. All Pittsburgh here in the second half. And listen to the Panther fans in the house.
Well, the Panthers are playing with a lot more confidence right now. Very assertive, going to the basket, passing the ball with ease. As Louisville not really getting in the passing lane, not playing the same brand of defense as they did in the first half. And again, I just believe that it's because they got the big man back on the floor. They believe all things can happen.
Kendall out, Young in. 3 more subs at the last whistle for Rick Pitino. This Pittsburgh program takes a tremendous amount of pride in what they've become within the Big East Conference, both regular season and postseason. 6 straight years with 20 wins overall, 10 or more in the conference. They have reached the Big East championship game 5 of the last 6 years, looking to make it 6 out of 7. For many, many years, it was Georgetown, Syracuse, St. John's, then Connecticut. Pittsburgh wants everybody to think about them as easily as they think about those other programs.
All those programs took turns wearing the moniker Beasts of the East.
Got a foul against Pittsburgh as we go to break. It's not Gray. He's got 3. Graves has 3 threes here in the second half. Cook knocks one down as well. Pittsburgh has the lead.
Our engineers saw every square inch of the Sierra as an opportunity for another breakthrough. Introducing the more comfortable, more powerful, and the most fuel-efficient all-new 2007 GMC Sierra. We examined everything and overlooked nothing to create our greatest pickup yet. That's professional grade.
Toshiba HD DVD. So real you can feel it.
I can feel a change a-coming. Start anew. Change. Change. A change will do you good.
Michelob Light. Crafted with noble European aroma hops. For a full-flavored light beer as distinctive as the bottle itself. Michelob Light. Distinct by design.
For the independent investor, TD Ameritrade has proprietary tools like trade triggers. It lets you place trades automatically even when you're away from the computer. And Market Motion Detector, a tool that shows the speed of price and volume movements. Tools for the long-term investor. Tools for the active trader. Tools for independence. TD Ameritrade. Independence is the spirit that drives America's most successful investors.
Just across the street from where Bryce Drew hit his famous shot, brother Scott's Baylor Bears pounding Texas. Kevin Rogers hits. It is Baylor on top by 16. Kevin Durant is really struggling in that game. Meanwhile, Ole Miss, the team that Bryce Drew beat with his shot, on top of LSU 37-17. And over on ESPN2, it's Virginia Tech up 10 on Wake.
Man, it is getting wild in the Big 12, in the SEC. Pretty wild game here tonight between Louisville and Pittsburgh. Look at the runs in this game. A couple of big runs in the first half. That 10-0 run to close the first half for Louisville. Then lightning struck all of a sudden for Pittsburgh in the second half. They've hit 4 threes after not hitting any in the entire first half, much to the dismay of Rick Pitino. Remember, Louisville allowed that 18-0 run to West Virginia last night before stabilizing. Now Character has a pass slip out of his hands.
Well, he didn't want to throw that pass as he saw the defender start easing over, but
Young. And Character had it. And a foul going against the freshman. We talked about it. Louisville's playing as if they're in a desperate situation here. Pittsburgh has not changed their MO. Up 4, down 10. They have always looked the same, and maybe that's the benefit of experience.
Well, again, you saw what happened yesterday with West Virginia's 18-0 run, and you would think that Louisville can learn from that. Obviously, they can weather the storm, but they've got to be able to calm down, play with both feet on the ground, and understand how they built the lead towards the end of the first half.
Pass knocked away again. Stolen by Ramon.
Character's the wrong guy to have in that sweet spot of his own. He's not nifty enough with the ball, not yet.
They don't have Terrence Williams in the game right now. Padgett's getting ready to come back in, presumably for Character. Jumper by Young.
Yeah, Padgett would be another guy who's not bad as a passer up there. And Rick Pitino can't get Padgett in quickly enough, so he calls the time.
Rick Pitino keeps calling timeouts, keeps making substitutions, and things are going from bad to worse for the Cardinals. Down to 1 timeout remaining for Louisville right now. Well, the first game tonight was a classic between Notre Dame and Georgetown. Russell Carter had a big night, burying threes early. Jeff Green, the player of the year in the Big East, wound up with 30 points and 12 rebounds, knocked down his free throws. This was for the win. Carter missing the three with a couple of seconds left in a wild back and forth game. Big John, JT 3 as well, 84-82 Georgetown. So the Hoyas, the top seed in the league, get the winner of this game. And the championship game tomorrow night, the Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale, is part of Championship Week presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. It's available tomorrow night on ESPN and ESPN HD at 9 Eastern. Jamie Dixon desperately wants to be a part of that game again, as he has so many times before, as both a head coach and an assistant coach. Earl Clark right at Gray. Gray stands him up. Young fouled by Will Scott before the shot.
I give Will Scott credit for the hustle to get down before the shot can be taken and force it to be a side out. Louisville can reset the defense. But Aaron Gray making his presence felt out there. I mean, you could barely slip a newspaper under his feet when he jumps, but when he extends, still a pretty good defender.
Graves with a strong drive draws the foul.
Take a look defensively. He doesn't get on, he gets on his tiptoes and blocks that shot. And Earl Clark is a leaper.
Graves knocked down those 2 threes, Len, right out of the chute here in the second half. In the first 40 seconds, in fact. Now Gray will come out. Kendall will come back in. Jamie Dixon might rotate the 2 big guys, each of whom has 3 fouls.
Well, remember, Antonio Graves, the senior, you talked about the many trips to the finals on the Big East that Pittsburgh has made, and Antonio Graves has been a part of a couple of those. He's the guy that has the experience, and he knows this is the last Big East championship that he'll participate in, so there's a sense of urgency for him.
Scott, a good outside shooter. They get out on him in a hurry. McGee from the corner, not there. Padgett, the tip to Williams. Williams, the pass inside. Clark, the jam.
See, that's what Louisville needs to do. Get back to basics. Battle on the board. Terrence Williams has to forget about the 3 and start creating for himself and others. He's the best guy off the bounce for Louisville. And defensively, the zone has to extend and make sure you cover shooters.
In the backcourt right now, Andre McGee and Will Scott getting the minutes for the Cardinals. Rick Pitino unhappy with the play of his starters.
Well, he's looking for intelligent defense. That's where it starts.
Cook can't turn the corner on the bigger Williams. Young, a good ball fake. Gets Padgett in the air. Rebound by Clark. Ripped it down one-handed.
And that's what I mean by intelligent defense. What David Padgett did, slid over, helped on penetration without fouling, extended, and made that shot a hard one.
Clark in good position. missed a jumper that he will normally knock down. Graves feeling it. Whoa, Padgett just wrapped up and threw Kendall, but there was no call.
One more pass by T-Row. One more pass, Andre McGee on the other side. He was wide open.
Graves steps in. The kick to the corner, and the high arcing three is true for Mike Cook. Make it a long 2 for Cook. He's got 13. Now Padgett's the man in the middle, trying to exploit the soft part of that zone. Scott with a quick release. That's his game.
Will Scott, another New Yorker by way of Cornell, went to collegiate high school here in Manhattan. And he's a dead-eye shooter in a catch-and-shoot situation. Good ball movement's going to get him some better looks.
And Rick Pitino obviously is going with the guys playing the best. Forget about reputation or accomplishments. He's been shuttling guys in and out constantly, just looking for somebody, as Len said, to play some smart basketball. Aaron Gray getting set to check back in for Pittsburgh. Williams for 3. Almost banked it home inadvertently.
So that's where T-Will has to use discretion. He's not hitting those shots. He's at his best off the bounce. Continue to move the ball so you can get it to your shooters if that's what your intention is.
Scott, the best shooter on the floor for the Cardinals. Good catch there by Padgett. Padgett the offensive rebound and draws the foul. Pittsburgh by 4 and a championship week update when we come back.
They say a family that plays together stays together, and one that walks apart just falls apart. So together we stand, divided we fall, united we form Voltron and take on all. Let's move. The second coming, the new beginning, the truth is speaking. You should listen. So glorious, victorious. We take what we want. We born warriors.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
I was a single mother with 3 kids.
After seeing what nurses had done for me, I was determined to give back.
In my former position as a crime scene investigator, I saw many young lives lost. I chose Carlo
because I knew they had a great nursing program.
Because of the excellent opportunity to write a new chapter in my life.
to better serve our children as an educator.
At Carlo.
At Carlo.
At Carlo, I matter.
Stay calm. We're gonna save you. Stop freaking out. Hop into the basket, one at a time.
Save some cabbage. Sign up for Comcast Digital Voice for just $39.95 a month, every month. With unlimited local and long distance plus voicemail. Because the less money you pay, the more you get to keep for yourself. Just call 1-888-COMCAST. Comcast Digital Voice. It's Comcastic.
Texas starting to put together a run against Baylor. Kevin Durant well behind the NBA three and drains it. He now has 20. It is an 8-point lead for the Bears. Final 11 minutes. Over on ESPN2, it's Virginia Tech on top of Wake, 49-42. Illinois, Indiana, the Illini perhaps playing for a tourney bid. This one is even at 50, Dan.
Dave, you're right. A major game for the Illini As they're tied at 50 with Indiana, we get a 4-point game here. Pittsburgh did not hit a single three, Len, in the first half. All of a sudden, 4 of them go down early in the second half.
And they did it with a flurry, and for the most part, without Aaron Gray on the floor, as they spread their offense, utilized excellent ball movement, and Aaron is pretty pleased. When you look at the numbers right there, second half, it's just been the ball movement and really the hot shooting of Antonio Graves primarily.
The big early story in this game, the 2 fouls picked up by Aaron Gray in the first 3.5 minutes of the game. He sat until there was a minute 20 left in the first half. Picked up his third a couple of minutes into the second half. Oh, and there is number 4.
And you know what created that foul besides the miss? It was the quickness of Terrence Williams to the ball. I don't think Aaron Graves ever saw him. Watch how quickly Terrence Williams gets in the picture in front of Graves. Graves thought he could see all ball, and underneath him comes Terrence Williams. And it just shows you that, again, it's all about position when you're rebounding. It's not so much about size.
So once again, Pittsburgh is going to have to go a long stretch without its best player. They weathered the storm for most of the first half, got back into it with that flurry of threes here in the second half. They've got the lead now. Kendall's playing with 3 fouls.
Well, however momentarily Aaron Gray was in the game, seemed to give Pittsburgh a big psychological lift. Let's see if they can maintain that kind of confidence now that they know he's on the bench for a significant amount of time.
Rebound Benjamin on the miss by Fields, who's been struggling with his shot. Ramon throws up an attempted alley-oop to Young. Pagic shovels it off to Williams. Here come the Cardinals. The floater.
There he goes. He's in his space now.
He's got such great gifts and one real weakness. And if he can play to his gifts and minimize the weakness, he's going to be a superstar. A 2-point lead. The winner gets Georgetown in the championship game tomorrow night. Paget doesn't bite on the fake. Again, doesn't bite on the fake. Good stay-at-home defense there by Paget.
That's what I talked about. Intelligent defenders is what Louisville has been looking for.
Kendall gets the bounce.
And this is where Levon Kendall presents his value. So versatile, he can play 3-4 positions out on the floor. Forced to play center right now. But with his skills to shoot the perimeter shot as well as play inside, he presents a problem for Louisville.
Play in the middle of that zone.
He doesn't get as much credit as he probably deserves because he doesn't put up the gaudy numbers.
Williams, a great feed into Clark. What a pass. 7 assists tonight for Terrence Williams. Young from the elbow.
See, Pittsburgh's taking quick shots now because Aaron Gray is not in the game, and they're not obligated to throw the ball inside, which kind of slows it down, forces them to be patient.
McGee a little strong on the 3. Ramon, good hands, but Clark gets it back.
You know, Pitt has got to, on the offensive end, play as though Aaron Gray were in the game. Maybe look at Levon Kendall as an Aaron Gray-esque kind of center.
Williams for 3. A rebound to Ramon. Louisville this half 1 for 11 from 3-point range. Ramon creates a little space, and the soft touch makes it a 4-point game.
In the semi-fast break, out of transition, it's always a dangerous thing having a shooter like that lurking around the line.
Williams again.
All right now.
Oh, boy. He just can't help himself sometimes. And a bump inadvertently, but a foul committed by McGee will send us to a timeout. Terrence Williams doing what he does best, but then missing a couple of threes. Ramon with a jumper at the other end. The Panthers up by 4.
Buffalo Wild Wings. You have to be here.
If there were a store in your town called Peace of Mind, would you pay it a visit? Across America, in towns big and small, there is such a place. New York Life. It starts with our values of financial strength, integrity, and humanity, and continues with our agents. So look for us in your town. You may already know our people, and we are confident that peace of mind is why New York Life is the company you keep.
At Stouffer's, the way we see it, dinner for one should not be a compromise. That's why there's new Corner Bistro flatbreads. Unique combinations like a crisp chipotle seasoned crust topped with grilled steak fajita, roasted peppers, and onions. Because the way we see it, a table for one ought to be the best seat in the house. New Corner Bistro flatbreads. Stouffer's. Every dinner should feel this good.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by Aeropostale, providing scholarship through sponsorship.
We were talking about that Illinois-Indiana game going down to the wire. The Hoosiers in a tie game with a chance to win it. But Armand Bassett misses, and amazingly, this is the first Big Ten game all year. Includes the regular season conference games to go into overtime. They're headed to OT. Virginia Tech and Wake over on ESPN2. Hokies pulling away in the final 8 minutes, and Texas getting ever closer to Baylor. The Bears have controlled throughout the game, but it's now a 6-point margin down.
Now, Dave, we got to get research to figure out what the championship week record is for overtime games, because we're blowing by it this week. Here's the Honda game track tonight. Pittsburgh up 4. Louisville closed the first half on a 10-0 run. Pittsburgh opened the second half on a 20-2 run. Louisville not shooting the ball well at all from the perimeter in the second half, and Pittsburgh remarkably leading this game with very limited contributions from their best player, Aaron Gray. Picked up 2 early fouls in the first half, his 3rd early in the second half, sat down for a few minutes, came back, and then almost immediately picked up his 4th. Have the ball right now. Antonio Graves, 3 huge threes in the second half. Edgar Sosa has returned after a stint in the doghouse for much of the night. They've gotten poked in the eye as well. More patience, better ball movement on this trip. Sosa for 3. Another assist for Terrence Williams.
And I think what Edgar Sosa learned was that the ball will come back to you if you give it up. You need ball movement. You need to force the defense to adjust and shift. And then you step into some openings, and your guys will get it back to you. There's no need to try to do it all by yourself, which is his downfall. And as you said, which got him a room in the Pitino doghouse.
Got him a suite. He's been out there for a while after being one of the stars of last night's win. Fields struggling with his outside shot. Mike Cook. Well, you talk about a guy who's just got a nose for the basketball.
He's just tough. I mean, you look at him, you can see he's tough, rugged.
Always wanted to play in the Big East. Spent a couple of years at East Carolina. He's a Philadelphia guy. Fits in very well with the Pittsburgh style of play. Kendall driving on Padgett. Rebound Padgett.
And so even though Kendall didn't knock that one down, that move is a major reason why they need to explore him more. He's got the mobility.
Aaron Gray heading back to the table to check in. It's going to stay at this end of the floor. 17 on the shot clock, and here comes Gray. Again, he has played sparingly because of foul trouble. A couple of the fouls he had to commit, Leonard, would you say a couple of the fouls he really wishes he had back? They were poor decisions on his part?
Yeah, I think the early fouls, the ones using the hand, the swim move, the push Padgett out of the way, those are the ones he wished he could take back.
Cook with a baseline drive. And the foul committed by Perrin Johnson. 6th team foul. Each team has committed 6. It's the 3rd on Johnson. Padgett out and Character back in for Louisville.
good spots for Derek Character to come back into the ball game. Again, when Aaron Gray saddled with foul trouble, Character has the strength to be able to at least match Aaron Gray. And on the offensive end, he's got some moves that could force the issue with Aaron Gray.
Gray trying to back him down, and the foul on Character.
Now the question is whether he has the experience to play him. Character did a nice job of holding his ground. You see where Gray started with a foot in the lane, and Character got him out, but he should have never left his feet. Look at this right here. Started in the paint, Character holds his own, but then he leaves his feet. Derek Character's got to realize that, what is he now? He's listed at 6'9", but maybe 6'7". Not going to block shots, especially a guy that size. So just hands up and bother him. You did your job when you pushed him off the lane.
Senior taking advantage of a freshman right there. Ramon back in for Fields now for Pitt. Tim Higgins is going to move some players off the lane. They're going to mop up some perspiration on the floor.
See, this would be a good time for an experienced guy to walk over to Derek Character and say, look, Aaron Gray is a terrific player, but his range is limited. Once you get him out of the lane, you don't have to contest the shot with anything other than hands straight up. But if you look out there on the court,
that's what I was going to say.
You got a couple of fellow freshmen, a couple of sophomores.
As opposed to Pittsburgh, Gray a senior, Kendall a fifth-year senior, Cook a junior who's transferred, so he's a fourth-year player. Graves is a senior, and Ramon is a junior. I don't know that any team in America, any big conference team in America, has as much experience as Pittsburgh does. All right, we're ready for action again. Rick Pitino and Jim Burr in a fairly animated conversation. And now Rick Pitino trying to get Tim Higgins' attention from about 65 feet away. That one never had a chance. Gray knocks it out of bounds back to the Cardinals, who have a chance to take the lead. You think the ball is going right inside the Character?
I think it's going to be some movement inside out, but time and score situation. You see LeVon Kendall guarding Derek Character. They're not going to trust Aaron Gray guarding him down low. Whoever's Aaron Gray is guarding, that's the guy that should be getting down on the block, or at least in a position where he can utilize his best game. But they are going to Character. They're going to get the most out of him that they can. And he can do it, but he falls away that time.
Missed the jump hook. Pittsburgh with the ball in a 1-point lead under 5 minutes to go. The winner on to the championship game against Georgetown tomorrow night, 9 Eastern, here on ESPN. Good help there by Williams and Clark, both of them knocking that ball away. Will Scott open. Can't ask for a better look if you're Rick Pitino.
And Terrence Williams saw Will Scott all the way. There was eye contact and telepathic communication, and he delivered it nicely. Scott just couldn't knock it down.
3 freshmen. And on the floor for Louisville right now, but Will Scott, a sophomore who does not get many minutes at all.
Boy, you just hate to see that. Yep. There's no need to reach and slap the ball away. That's almost asking to come out of the game. But again, young man, a lot of potential. And as we can see, just needs loads and loads of experience.
So now Gray to the line. He'll get 1 and 1. Not a great free throw shooter, just 55%. Missed a couple last time down. Left that one short as well. The weakest part of his game, free throw shooting.
Well, he wanted to give it to Jerry Smith.
That was close.
That's why you have 2 hands on the ball.
Campbell got a hand on it. Shot clock under 10.
Sosa looked up. He sees it.
Oh, off his leg, out of bounds, back to Pittsburgh. Who's going to step up and lead his team into the championship game?
Step aside and mind your manners. Show respect for the champion banners. Come step up, cause we're ready to step on anybody in our way, and our game is Teflon.
What is victory? Is it when you've won more titles than anyone else? Or is the greatest achievement of all building a foundation for yourself so you can become one for someone else?
Go, Bella. Keep pedaling. Keep pedaling. You got it. Go, go! Right hand bicycle.
American Century Investments.
They say family that prays together stays together, and one that walks apart just falls apart. So together we stand, divided we fall, united we form Voltron and take on all. Let's move. The second coming, the new beginning, the truth is speaking. You should listen. So glorious, victorious. We take what we want. We born warriors.
What do you got? This watch can teleport you anywhere in the world.
Not bad.
Not bad? You can read a person's mind. This pen turns into a helicopter.
What's this?
Fuel injection, reverse gear, aluminum frame. The all-new Kawasaki KFX 450R, declassified March 2007.
The NASCAR Busch Series on ABC. Juan Pablo Montoya, off an exciting and controversial win, looks to tame the Desert Oval and strike again. The NASCAR Busch Series at Las Vegas. Coverage begins Saturday at 2:30 Eastern on ABC.
Ahead on SportsCenter, how long this vicious hit could keep Chris Simon off the ice, why Kobe's return could be bad news for the Sixers' winning streak, plus which running back is replacing Kiki Barber. SportsCenter, after the game.
Texas continuing its run against Baylor after the Bears had controlled for much of this game. It's a 5-point ball game when DJ Augustine gets his first hoop of the night. He had missed his first 8 shots. Bears on top by 4. Virginia Tech all over Wake on ESPN2. Meanwhile, Illinois up 3 in overtime over Indiana. ESPN2 will take you to the conclusion of that one if you want to see how it comes out. Dan?
And we do. Maybe a must-win game for the Illini to secure an at-large. We got a great one to go in here. A 1-point game. Pittsburgh over Louisville. The winner of this takes on Georgetown in the championship game tomorrow night. The Big East Championship presented by Aeropostale. 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPN and ESPN HD tomorrow night from Madison Square Garden here in New York. The top-seeded Hoyas are through. Foul committed by Jerry Smith will send Levance Fields to the line.
And if you're Jeff Green, 30 points, 12 rebounds, hits the winning bucket, what do you do for an encore? And that's a reason to tune in beyond the fact that it's a championship, to see one of the best players in the country.
Fields a good free throw shooter, 79%. Has not shot the ball well from the field tonight. 0 for 7, 0 for 4 from 3. He gets some air under that ball, doesn't he? Offensive rebound. Kendall blocked by Padgett. Good decision there by Cook.
And again, time and score, you want to start building on that lead. You can't build it with quick shots.
Well, he's eventually going to take one. Misses the 3. Kendall got it again.
And again, Louisville has the possession now in their favor, and not one white shirt got on the floor to tie up. You've got to be aware of every element of this game.
Graves cut off. His 4th 3 of the second half. Antonio Graves.
Boy, the failure to get on the floor for Louisville really cost them that time. Second chance opportunity.
Louisville then has scored only 14 points in the second half. Williams. He has been in on every field goal Louisville's had here in the second half. They've made 7. He has 2 of them. He's assisted on the other 5.
That time going to his left, and he shoots it kind of going away from the basket. But it is a mid-range shot, and that's where his strength is.
Under 2 to go. Gray with the left hand. And Kendall was pushed under the basket. And I think it's Terrence Williams getting called for the foul. Let's go back and revisit the last possession. The term glue guy's become very popular. Kendall's been all of that here in the last couple of minutes.
Well, we alluded to his value out there, and because he doesn't have gaudy numbers, we tend to overlook him. But I don't think Jamie Dixon and his teammates underestimate Levon Kendall.
10th team foul, so 2 shots. Kendall misses the first. Gray goes out. Young comes in for Pittsburgh.
You look at Kendall's numbers, right at his average in points and rebounds. But you would think he was not having the impact that he's had. You think that his numbers would be bigger because of what he's been able to do here in the second half particularly.
Len Pittsburgh just 4 of 11 from the stripe in the second half. Gray's not a good free throw shooter. He's on the bench right now. Louisville's got just 1 timeout left. Remember, Rick Pitino used a couple when things were unraveling early in the second half. Oh, great job by Fields. He read it all the way.
And that's what I mean by staying at home. Will Scott drove to the basket, but the guy covering the person on the wing, on the perimeter, on that same side has got to stay home, and that's the big reason why.
Timeout, Pittsburgh. What a comeback here in the second half. And what a job by the rest of the Panthers to play well with Aaron Gray not being able to contribute very much tonight because of the fouls.
Take a look at the drive right here. Now, normally, a guy like Fields would have stepped in and tried to help on the drive, but instead, he stays at home, knowing that Will Scott is not a driver, and that's where the pickoff comes. Smart play.
Down 11 at the half, up 4 right now with 1:07 to go. Syracuse last year is the only team in the history of the Big East Championship to win a game in overtime and then win again the next day. Remember, Louisville won a double overtime game against West Virginia last night. SportsCenter is next right here on ESPN. A look at a crazy day of college basketball. 20 seconds on the shot clock, 1:07 in the game. Pitt with the ball and a 4-point lead. Down to Gray and Padgett. No basket. No basket. Padgett, you could see, fully intended to foul Gray right away to put him on the line. Jamie Dixon is beside himself.
But without the benefit of replay, which we'll see here, it was a good call. There's the reach right there. Hands all over him, the reach goes. And I think that was before, definitely before he got the shot up. Before he even went in the shooting motion, it was on the turn, not necessarily the motion to the basket.
The whole object was to put a weak free throw shooter on the line. Gray knocks down the first.
I guess you got to make them when you got to make them.
They threw the gauntlet down, and he answered the challenge with a couple of huge free throws.
And they don't even risk losing him on the defensive end as Jamie Dixon starting to play offense-defense with Aaron Gray.
Louisville needs something quick here.
Now this is where Williams has got to come back and get it. He's got to create something.
How about that as he hits a 3. And it makes it a 1-possession game with 41 seconds to go.
I mean, you're back against the wall. You got to go with your best.
Last time out for Louisville. Let's get another update with Dave Revson.
Okay, Dan, Texas has come all the way back against Baylor. Off the turnover, Craig Winder lays it in, and it is tied at 65. That's where it stands right now. Winner gets Oklahoma State. Virginia Tech is on the verge of beating Wake Forest, and Illinois looks like it's going to beat Indiana, so the Illini in good shape to get in.
Now, Dave, both of these teams are safely in. This is for conference bragging rights and a spot in the championship game.
Well, again, when you're Terrence Williams and you're the most creative guy, most athletic guy on the floor, you can't run away from the ball. You got to come back, and come back he did.
Pittsburgh lost to Louisville about 3 weeks ago. They've also lost recently to Georgetown and Marquette. They've lost 3 games in the last 3 weeks. They beat Marquette in the quarterfinals. They're 41 seconds away from beating Louisville tonight and earning a shot at Georgetown. So a chance potentially for Pittsburgh to avenge all 3 defeats in a whirlwind 3-day tour here in New York. They're going to have to execute, hang on to the basketball, and knock down some free throws.
Well, Louisville in the double bonus, or actually Pittsburgh in the double bonus. Louisville has 10 fouls, as we saw there. So we still expect at least a try at the steal.
Gray on the bench.
And a good defensive sequence right here.
And Williams fouls Kendall. They did not want to foul Fields, who's an 80% free throw shooter. Kendall's pretty good at 74.
I don't know. One possession ball game. Still had time left on the clock if Pittsburgh had exhausted all 35. I mean, it certainly is a risk that the final shot has to be the winning shot. And I guess it's a risk that Rick Pitino didn't want to take, as opposed to try to get some poor free throw shooters to miss. But, you know, I'm not so sure about that. Got a good defensive stand. You make you stand there.
2 for Gray, then 2 for Kendall. 5-point game. Jerry Smith. Williams the rebound. Edgar Sosa. A 2-point game. No timeouts for Louisville.
Obviously, Rick Pitino knew something I didn't know.
Nobody guarding the ball, and now Jamie Dixon wants to use his next to last timeouts. Well, Edgar Sosa with not much choice given the situation, but to put the shot up, and it found the bottom of the net.
Well, again, by fouling, Louisville kind of extended the time, gave themselves another possession that wasn't nearly as critical as maybe the last possession, and good ball movement.
So Pittsburgh leading by 2 with the ball. 21.7 to go. As we mentioned, they've been a regular in the Big East Championship game. 2001, Ricardo Greer played tough, but the Panthers lost to Boston College. 2002, who will ever forget this double overtime loss to Connecticut? A phenomenal performance by Brandon Knight. Talik Brown with a miracle shot. 2003, Knight and the Panthers beating UConn to win the Big East Championship. 2004 was the Ben Gordon show as Pittsburgh lost to UConn, and then last year losing to Jerry McNamara and Syracuse in the championship game. Brandon Knight now back involved with the program again. He's their video guy, and he's taking it seriously. He's working hours and hours. We talked to him last night. He's breaking down film, whatever Jamie Dixon wants.
Hanging out till 4 a.m. with the staff, breaking down tape. I'm sure he never thought about that, but in the end, Brandon Knight wants to be a coach. I think he'd make a terrific coach. He's paying his dues right now, and that's important for young people who do want to get into that profession. Pay your dues, and no one can ever say you're not prepared.
You saw the numbers on Graves. Pittsburgh might not be anywhere near this kind of a situation had Graves not hit those early threes in the second half. Pittsburgh's now made 6 in a row.
There's also the combination of Graves and Louisville's incompetence handling the ball for a stretch.
7 in a row down the stretch. 2-possession game.
Nice step out there to make it hard on Smith, especially with the big Kendall.
Clark, no. Fields has it. Pittsburgh's going back to the championship game. With their best player missing most of the game with foul trouble, The tough-minded Pittsburgh Panthers beat Louisville 65-59. And we'll have Georgetown and Pittsburgh in the championship game tomorrow night.
Well, I'll tell you what, Pittsburgh persevered. It looked as though when Gray went out of the ball game that they literally fell apart as Louisville went on 2 double-digit runs in that first half. But the tables turned, and you can't understand why Louisville went into the anxiety attack that they had to begin the second half, but that's what cost them, inability to handle the ball.
Pittsburgh picked preseason to win the league. Georgetown wound up winning the regular season title. They'll battle it out for the Big East Championship tomorrow night at 9 Eastern right here on ESPN, and it should be great fun given the way these 2 semifinal games went here tonight. 6-point win for Pittsburgh after trailing by 11 at halftime. The Panthers move on. Mark Jones is ready, standing by with Jamie Dixon.
Coach, what did you say to your team at halftime to come out of the locker room to get on that 17-2 run?
I think they probably heard a different side of me that they don't usually see, and I was just we were down rebounding 13. Just the things I was really surprised. We had a good spot. We gave up those 2 threes at the end, and I just wanted to get in and cut down a couple within reach. So they saw a different side of me that they probably haven't seen, but they responded, came out in the second half, and I felt good about it. My preparation last week, we've been healthy, we've been practicing well, and I feel like we're right where we need to be.
Right after the game, went over and kissed your mom and dad and your sister Julia. How special is this time of the year for you here in New York?
It's tough. It's this is where our family gets together every year, and it's going to be it's tough for my parents here. So thinking about them, this is good for them.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach. Good luck tomorrow. Guys, back to you.
All right, Mark. Well, a ton of emotions, both positive and negative, given the loss of Sister Maggie shortly after they spent so much quality time here together last year. Pittsburgh has moved on. Jamie Dixon and the gang will take on Georgetown tomorrow night in the championship game. Sports Center is next on ESPN. We'll have a post-game extra over on ESPN News. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com. For Len Elmore and Mark Jones, I'm Dan Schulman. Thanks for watching.
Upsets, buzzer beaters, heart-stopping finishes. This is what March Madness is all about. You're about to find out what SportsCenter is all about. He's John Anderson. I'm Steve Levy.
39 conference tournament games played today. Steve and I, we watched all of them. Seriously, who earned a trip to the NCAA tournament? Whose bubble burst? Find out next. SportsCenter.
Three-pointer all the way in. This is SportsCenter.
Oh, wow! That's what star players do.
Fab freshman Kevin Durant makes his Big 12 tournament debut. Plus, see how the nation's top teams, including the defending champs, kicked off their postseasons. Kobe returns from his second suspension, but did he keep his elbows to himself? Shaq, did he come up with a big win again without his wingman? And the NHL suspends Chris Simon for the vicious hit. Hear how long Barry Melrose thinks he should stay down. Big 12, big drama. Baylor, Kevin Durant, rest of the Longhorns too. Opening game for UT in the Big 12 Conference Tournament. Durant struggling in his first postseason action. Can't hit the layup, misses off the glass. It's your conference player of the year who will start out 0 for 11 from the field. I mean, that's a bunny and it doesn't go for 35. On the block, mismatch, height advantage, can't get that to go. In all, Durant just 1 of 13 from the field and 5 points in the first half, and the Horns felt the sting of the Baylor Bears. They were down 43-25. Baylor whooped up on Missouri in the opening round and then doing the same to the Texas Longhorns. Second half, different story for Durant. His team, instead of down 18, they are down 7. And Durant, oh, don't let the smooth taste fool you. He gets his team down 5. Baylor hangs in there. Durant, who makes 7 of his first 8 shots in the second half, had 24 points in the second half. And his team all the way back, down 65-63. Turnover by Baylor. Greg Winder will get that one to go, and we're tied at 65. Rick Barnes' club, what else? 3 minutes to go now. It's a 2-minute game. 66-65. Durant will miss. Winder there, rebound and foul. 67-66. And Texas is going to survive this thing. 70-69. DJ Augustine gets 2 more to put it away for the Horns. 74-69. They advance. Doug Gottlieb, Steve Levy, more basketball.
All right, John, thanks. I am joined by the man who takes 11 months off and works just 1 month. What a job you have. Usually on SportsCenter, we're all about the bubble at this point in the season, right? Who might get into the tournament, who might be out of the tournament. But tonight we're going to shake it up a bit. 6 schools who could win it all, win the national championship, were in action tonight. Joe Lunardi has 3 projected as 1 seeds, 3 projected as 2 seeds. We'll hear from Joe in a bit. We'll hear from Doug right now. Here we go, beginning with the SEC quarterfinal action. The defending champs Florida taking on Georgia. Joe, Kim, Noah, and the fellas, they got off to a good start, Doug.
We call this team clapper. You know, clap on, clap off. The clapper today, it was definitely clap on. Probably not a good idea for Georgia, bubble team, to spot the Gators 17 points. 17